Welcome to the Female Blueprint, where we break free from the boxes that life tries to put us in. I'm Dr. Courtney, pelvic floor physical therapist, investor, and founder of 360 Wellness. And here, we help you design a life that's unapologetically yours through real stories and unfiltered conversations on health, wellness, business, and living boldly as a woman. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the Female Blueprint. Today's episode is personal. It's a story, but my story, and in many ways, it might be yours too. I want to take you back to a moment that completely shifted the way that I saw myself and my work, and just like ultimately the way that I was living my life. Because before I ever built a business, before I ever found my voice, before I was ever doing any of this stuff, I started healing. Before I ever started healing for real, I was sitting in my car outside of my 9-to-5 clinic job in 110 degrees in Las Vegas, Nevada, dreading walking inside. I was exhausted, I was numb, I was anxious, I was sad, and I was stuck in a cycle that literally didn't even feel like mine. I was doing what I thought I should do, and it was slowly draining the life out of me. This is the story of what happened next: the burnout, the rebuilding, the second burnout, and then unraveling everything I thought I had to be, and the slow, honest, raw, messy path that it took to get back to myself today. So let's get into it. I didn't know it at the time, but that moment in the car, dreading another day inside a clinic that once did excite me. I loved my job. It was actually the beginning of my unraveling. 3 years ago, I was deep in my 9-to-5 job as a physical therapist. From the outside, it looked like I had everything going from me and I had made it, right? I had the degree, the stable career, a high-paying, secure job, patients who trusted me that were getting better, and a clear path ahead, but inside I felt so empty. My body was always tired, my mind was constantly drained, and I had this low hum of sadness that I literally couldn't shake. I literally woke up all the time already exhausted, and I was always thinking about the next moment my head would hit the sheets. I didn't recognize myself in the mirror because literally of how I looked. I was 20 pounds overweight, and the feeling I felt looking at myself, I'll never forget. I was numb and completely disconnected from my body. I was literally going through the motions every single day and smiling through this what looking back now is burnout. And the worst part is that this was just how it was, how I thought it was supposed to be. The life I was living, I literally just thought that's how it was. I was living for the weekends. I never wanted to do anything. I was constantly trying to book a vacation out of there every single month to escape my reality. And if I just ate a little bit less and I worked out a little bit harder and I burned a little bit more calories, maybe I'd actually feel better about myself and lose some weight too. But obviously pushing harder led to a full breakdown, mentally, emotionally, physically, literally everything. I was stuck. And I knew at that point that something had to shift. The truth is burnout doesn't always look like collapse, fall on the ground. Sometimes it looks like quiet disconnection, and I felt that. I remember the time I'd got home from work and I just would sit in the car in complete silence, paralyzed by exhaustion. I wasn't sad, I wasn't mad, I wasn't angry. I was literally just gone. And if you've ever felt this before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I felt like my spirit just leaked out of me one day at a time, and then all of a sudden it just hit me out of nowhere. And then came the guilt too, right? Because I had it good. I had it so good. I was doing everything right. I should have been grateful. But eventually I did the brave thing and I left and I started my own business, not because I wanted to prove anything, at least initially, but because I genuinely craved whatever else was outside of the clinic. And whatever life I was living, I wanted whatever life that was outside of that. I wanted purpose again. I wanted autonomy. I wanted to be able to do whatever I wanted to do. And I wanted to do things differently. Because the people I was helping every single day in the clinic, they weren't getting my full potential as a provider, and neither was the system allowing them to heal. So I threw myself into it completely, and I left my job and I started my own company. But let me preface this by saying this wasn't pretty either. I worked 2 jobs, right? I was starting my company, but I was still doing home health on the side. I was driving to patients' homes, I was treating all day, documenting at night, and then I was staying up even later at night to build this business from scratch, pouring into every ounce of energy that I had into creating something meaningful. And for a while it worked. My business grew, my schedule was full, I scaled quickly, my content blew up. My social media blew up. Like people celebrated with me and, all of the external milestones, like, oh, you're killing it. And like, of course, I celebrated too. But like what no one saw eventually was that I literally was also hitting the same exact wall, just in a different room. Because if there's one thing about me, it's that I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And maybe you can relate to this too if you're listening to this and you're also kind of like me. I've always had this deep drive to do things right, like to be excellent, to get a 4.0, to be the best, to do the best, like look the best. And as I look back and reflect, it was not only about working hard. Like, trust me, I do that. But it was about proving something, right? Like, maybe you can relate to this. Maybe to other people, I was proving something, maybe to myself. I don't always know, but I know that I'm always trying to prove something to somebody. And I have tied so much of my worth to my output that slowing down feels and felt like failure. Rest feels irresponsible, like laziness. And it's wild because on paper, I was like living the dream I've worked so hard for, but internally, I was unraveling again. Escape the system I thought was burning me out, only literally to recreate it within my own company. That realization hit hard. I had built something so beautiful, but I was building it on the same foundation of overfunctioning, proving, perfectionism, and pushing my limit. Despite all the progress, my body started to shut down again. Mind you, this was only a year ago. My energy was gone, my gut was a mess, my skin flared up with adult acne, I wasn't sleeping without the help of some THC. And when I did, I woke up anxious and wired. My reactions were like always heightened. Even like small things triggered like massive stress responses. And I found myself again withdrawing from things in the world, like not wanting to leave my house. I was always overstimulated. I was like emotionally done. And physically, even again, overweight and just feeling like really inflamed. Like even the gym, which is like my safe space, became something I couldn't recover from. And it was disorienting. I thought I had everything I wanted: impact, income, independence, all of the things that I strived for when I left my job, but I actually felt worse than I did in my 9 to 5. LOL. Entrepreneur life, right? So there I was, business booming, life on paper looked like a dream, social media looked like a highlight reel, and yet my body was screaming at me again to slow down. But this time, I wasn't ignoring it. I had pushed through before, but something about this version of burnout like felt different. And that was the moment I realized that you can build your dream life and still be completely disconnected if you don't build it on your own terms. And that moment forced me to get radically honest with myself because I had been building a life that wasn't truly mine. Yes, it looked different than the 9 to 5 that I was living, but the energy behind it was still the same. Like I was still hustling, I was still overachieving, I was still proving something, and I kept performing, I kept showing up just one more day over and over again. I literally realized that I was following a blueprint still, just a different one. The entrepreneur blueprint, different than the 9 to 5 blueprint. The online space blueprint, the scale fast, move fast, do more blueprint. And it was just as toxic to me as the first one, if I'm being honest. And that was the first time I slowed down long enough to actually ask myself, what do I want? Like, what do I actually believe in? Not will I grow the fastest? Not what will impress others? Not what's expected of me, but me and what I truly wanted for myself. And honestly, like asking myself these questions, like I didn't know. I've spent so long performing and adopting to others' beliefs of what I should do. I didn't even know what like alignment for myself like felt like or what it actually was. But I knew that I had to figure it out. So I gave myself permission to unravel. I stepped back from pushing and started asking deeper questions. I actually then got help physically, emotionally, spiritually. I started trauma therapy and somatic healing, and that's rough work, guys. I dove into nervous system regulation, functional medicine. I poured deeper than ever into my relationship with Jesus this year. Praise God, because he has literally changed the trajectory of my life. I saw doctors, got labs done, got some advanced testing done. I started listening to my body, what my body was trying to tell me all along, that I wasn't just tired, I was literally out of alignment for what I was meant to do and how I was meant to live. For so long, I was operating in survival mode for years, probably since I was young. And now I'm rewriting everything again. And I'm going to be honest, like it's really raw, it's messy, it's uncomfortable, but it's wildly healing. And for the first time in my life, I'm not chasing my worth. I'm not building something to prove anything. I'm honoring my capacity, the capacity that God gave me and designed for me in my life, and I'm working with my body instead of against it, like for the first time ever. And I'm no longer treating myself like a machine that needs fixing or molding myself into whatever a doctor or an industry or a leader told me I should be. I'm giving myself space to truly feel and just be, because success at the cost of your soul, it ain't it. That's not success at all. And today I feel joy again, not surface level either, not superficial joy, not ha ha hee hee, like, but literally the kind that like just like bubbles up on like a Tuesday afternoon. Like today, as I'm recording this podcast, like I feel peace in my body. I don't feel stress. Don't get me wrong, like there are some things that still stress me out for sure. But like I laugh more, I leave my house, I go to the grocery store on a random day, and now I can connect with people without needing to perform for them. So if you're in the thick of it right now, burned out, questioning everything and wondering if it's just you, I want you to know that it's not. You're not broken. The blueprint you might be following is. And you don't need to start over tomorrow, but you do get to choose something different. You get to take a breath and ask yourself the real question: what blueprint are you living from? And is it actually yours? This podcast is an invitation to rewrite it. We're going to talk about health and nervous system healing, faith, business, burnout, hormones, healing, entrepreneurship, identity, and literally everything in between. Because you're not one-dimensional and neither is your journey. You're allowed to want more and build it without burning yourself into the ground. So welcome to the Female Blueprint. Let's burn the old one down and build something that actually feels like you.